Hello, Maria. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
All well. It's great to see you, and I want to welcome everyone to our, if you will, last conversation around how to become a thriving human. What we've been having in the series with Maria, and it's always a privilege to be together, Maria.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're most welcome. I want to emphasize again, it's been a journey through the series, and we'll do a little bit of recap as we get to the tail end of our conversation. But for those that have not heard Maria before, international speaker, if you will, keynote speaker, 2 times TEDx speaker, a thought leader on intentional adaptability and human potential. Truly, truly an honor to have you, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So, my friend, I know that the topic today is time management and productivity and the truth behind it all. So let's dive in.
Yes, the truth about time management, something that I wish I was taught when I was young, something that I did not understand through most of my life, thinking that it's, wishing for having more hours in a day, wishing for having more than 24 hours in a day, and wishing to be able to sleep less. These were the thoughts, that were going through my head when I was younger. And with time, I just realized that there is no such thing as time management. It's all about self management. Even if we look at superheroes, whether it's Doctor Strange, who actually has powers, or someone who travels in time, like Doctor Who, or Marty and Doc from Back into the Future. So, whether there are devices or powers, if we look at superheroes, it's the same with them. They don't manage time, they manage themselves in time. If you look closer, this is what happens, even with someone as powerful as Doctor Strange. So it's impossible to manipulate time. It's impossible to manage time. It all comes down to what is it we are doing within those 24 that is given to us in one day. Yeah, do you agree with me?
I love it, and I absolutely, number one, I love Doctor Who, so I got to be very, very open. I love Doctor Who, absolutely love Doctor Who, and then I love the phrase that you just used. It's managing ourselves in time, and how do we do that? How do we make that happen, Maria?
The main thing is to have focus and energy. So the skill of focus and having enough energy to implement what is it we want to implement. So we will go a bit deeper into both, but before we do, there's just like one of the things that's very easy to do is to create our morning and evening routines. Rather, everyone has already their morning and evening routines. We just don't realize it. I didn't realize it. My morning routine used to be snoozing, hitting the snooze alarm button like 10 times. you know,
And
and
and it's good. It's good. It's only 10 times. There are people that do it more than 10 times. Yes.
yes, well, I had to be out of the house before 6 a.m., so it's all that I could afford. Yes, a snoozing alarm and, running in a frenzy instead of going for a run and just gulping coffee and, yeah, not having breakfast, skipping breakfast, or having like white bread and salami for breakfast. So I had a horrible, horrible morning routine, and then the evening routine was even worse. So every one of us already has a routine. So the question is, are you happy with it? Is it actually doing anything for you that is not detrimental but positive? Because what we need to understand, like there's a lot of conversations about morning routines, which is wonderful. But unfortunately, I see very, very few conversations about evening routines, although I think they're more important. But it depends, what is it you need to work on? Do you need more focus or do you need more energy? So because in my life, I was lacking energy because I was just burning myself out. So for me, creating an evening routine, a proper evening routine to unwind and to prepare myself for sleep is more important. But for those who want to be more focused, but they have enough energy, they get proper rest through the night, then for them, morning routine would be more important because this is what it's all about. Evening routine is predominantly, of course, it depends what you're doing. Like, for example, if in the evening you're planning your tasks, it contributes to your focus and to your motivation. But predominantly, evening routine should be about winding down, relaxing our body, relaxing our mind, and preparing ourselves to get proper sleep. Because if we get proper sleep, this is the best thing that we can do for our energy levels. So, but in the morning routine, people do things like meditation or going for a run, planning a day, planning tasks for the day or for the week, refreshing what kind of goals they're trying to achieve and things like that. So having a proper morning routine, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 3 hours. It's very, very individual.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, take it, do it. So yeah, like it could be 10 minutes, it could be 3 hours. It's up to you. You've got to try different things, because if you're setting yourself in the right mode, if you do create that energy and focus, then you're going to be so much more productive when you actually start doing your tasks, starting completing your tasks.
Yeah.
So it's never about having more hours. It's not the time that is most precious commodity, but it's having more energy and being more focused. So actually investing that energy in the right way, in the right direction. That's what's more important. So it's not about working 100 hours a week. It's about being more efficient to actually get more results within less time. This is what we need to be
Yep.
striving for. And at the same time, to be energized physically, but calm mentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just, a straight road to anxiety, which we discussed recently.
Yes.
Yeah, so now my morning routine, for example, involves going in the morning. I go outside for 10 minutes and I look into the direction of the sunlight. It's something that we already chatted about, that when you catch that morning light, not looking at the sun, but in the direction of the sunlight. When we catch that morning light with the naked eye, or we can wear glasses or contacts, it's not gonna disturb it, but not through the window. So when we do it, our brain gets information that this is morning, it's time to be productive, and within 16 hours, we will need to unwind and it's going to be time for sleep. So this is very, very important. So I go outside and I spend 10 minutes outside. I'll look into the direction of the sunlight. At the same time, I do some sort of a meditation. It's usually noticing, for example, 5 things that I see, 4 things that I can hear, 3 things that I can smell. So this is actually a type of meditation. And well, while we're on it, what's interesting is that meditation does wonders for our focus. And I used to think it was for people who had too much time on their hands or were not driven enough or didn't want to be successful. So when people were talking to me about meditation through my 20s and through my 30s, I just dismissed them because I did not understand what effect it has on our brain. In particular, that it helps us to develop that skill of focus, become more focused. If we're doing meditation consistently and not as a transaction, but consistent with it. Yes, once I started diving deeper into the neuroscience, and once I saw what meditation was doing for our brain, this is something that I started doing as well. And what's interesting is that there are so many forms of meditation. Anyone can find something that's suitable for them specifically, because it's not just about, once again, there's this huge misconception that when we meditate, we're supposed to sit still, close our eyes, think about nothing.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
probably the ultimate form of meditation, but it takes years and years and years to actually become able to stop any thoughts in your mind. Like I can't imagine, because my brain is constantly buzzing. I almost always think about something. So for me, I can't even imagine me being able to do something like that. But I know that if I practice, I will. But it's not the only form of meditation. It could be, for example, I really love active meditation, when you just dance around. You can find music on YouTube. If you put on YouTube active meditation, there are a few videos where music is played, particular music is played, and you're just jumping and dancing around, and you see people on the screen doing the same thing. So like for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, a half an hour, how much time you have, this is a really great type of meditation called active meditation. Or it could be, for example, thinking about one thing, a really nice kind, like warm, loving memory from your childhood, and just focusing on that for a couple of minutes, or looking at one object and just focusing on that. So this is also a type of meditation where you stop your brain from, running around. running around, from your thoughts running around, and you just teach yourself to be more focused. Because as we mentioned in the beginning, I honestly believe, maybe you disagree with me, I would love to hear your opinion on this, but I believe that for our productivity, the two main things are focus and energy. What do you think?
I completely agree. And to your point, and I mean, this energy, as I work with leaders very openly, when they say, well, I don't have enough power, I tell them power is a manifestation of energy. Focus on your energy and you'd be amazed what you can manifest relative to power. And then focus is key. The other piece I really want to hear your thoughts on, Mariya, we talk about the morning, we talk about the evening, kind of the beginning and the end. If you manage your energy and regulate your energy and intentionally work with your focus throughout the day, it's a radically different experience of what can manifest. And I would love to, and I work with leaders around it. I'd love to hear kind of what your thoughts are there throughout the day.
I agree completely. It's just I tend to get so busy, so I'm not practicing it. It's something that I should be doing and something that we all should be doing to let ourselves recharge for the day. And it could be something very small, like going for a walk for just 10 minutes. It does wonders for our brain. We get the dopamine hit.
Yes.
We get energized to keep going. So instead of having meetings like, Zoom meetings back to back,
Yes.
schedule them that you have about 10-15 minutes in between. In any case, we need to move at least once an hour,
Yes. Yes. And
just
it makes all the
health-wise.
difference. It really makes all the difference. I mean, I've suggested to folks, step outside for 5 minutes. Just step outside for 5 minutes, and that's all it takes to kind of get a boost, if you will, and then be able to refocus and advance. So, respectfully, you're preaching to the choir, and I'm with you, Mariya. So, by all means,
Yes,
you
this
know,
is such a great technique. If you can go outside and go for a walk for like 10 minutes, and in particular, if you can go somewhere where there is a lot of greenery as well, and you also can get some sunlight onto your skin, it does such great things for your body, for your brain, for your focus, for your energy, that you're going to be so much more productive in the next hour or hours. So it's not about how much time you can spend sitting at a desk or how much coffee you can consume. And I'm guilty. I used to drink like 5 huge coffees a day.
yes, and you
And
know
giving
me.
up coffee was one of the hardest things.
Yes, yes,
Yes, but if I knew that sooner, I just really wish we would have taught those things. So just going outside and moving your body, it could be cycling, maybe just going for a quick swim, or something simple as walking. I'm not going to go into neuroscience. It's
yeah,
very, very interesting, but I'm not going to go into it. But yes, these are, or if you have a pet, it's really great to spend some time with your pet, or just give a quick call that is not a business call, but maybe to chat with a friend who you really like. Little things like that charge you up, or it could be just sitting there with a cup of tea and just focusing on that cup of tea.
yeah,
How warm it is and how great it smells, and how you feel when you're drinking tea, or having a piece of chocolate, things like that. So when we disperse those little things through the day, they help us to be more productive when we actually sit at a desk, or
yeah,
when we do a task, and to become more efficient, meaning that we get more done, we get better results within less time.
yeah. Yeah, tremendously agree with everything you're saying, Mariya. One of the questions that comes to mind very much so is, these are so fundamental, but we're never taught these fundamentals across the board. And we convince ourselves that we don't need these things, but we truly do. And I pose it as a question: how do you help leaders really recognize that you need these fundamentals and to embrace these fundamentals?
Well, sadly, you can't deliver a message to a person that is not ready to hear it. So, yeah, we've got to work with those people who actually want to transform their lives, who want to become happier, healthier, feeling more fulfilled instead of burning themselves out. And unfortunately, this is what it takes. It takes for a burnout to happen, for someone to actually, stop and start thinking, okay, am I happy with my life, personally and professionally? What's happening with my health? Could I do something differently? How can I take myself to the next level? And this is the thing. If you want to take yourself to the next level professionally, you need to take yourself to the next level personally first. And this is where grind should stop. because every high flyer had this period of grind. But everyone understands at some point that, if I want to grow, I need to grow as a person first. And grind can take me only to a certain point. So I really need to make certain changes. I need to change how I'm thinking. I need to change my habits, in particular, what I'm doing in the morning, what I'm doing in the evening, what I'm doing through the day, and realize that, yes, it's one of the biggest misconceptions that productivity has to do with how busy you are. That productivity has to do with how little sleep you can get. That productivity has to do with how many hours you can keep working. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. And the truth is that, like I said, it is about self-management. And the truth is that if we become more patient with ourselves and if we start taking care of ourselves, in particular of our brain, it starts working better for us. So if instead of sitting for 4 hours straight at the desk doing something, get up once an hour, go for a walk, distract yourself with something for a few minutes. And I think you will be able to do 2-3 times more work within the same period of time.
Yeah, it truly is a paradigm shift. And even when we talk about productivity, I encourage folks, I say, we could talk about efficiency, we can talk about effectiveness, we could talk about productivity, but think about if you shift it ever so slightly to how much impact am I really having in the world based on the amount of energy that I'm exerting and what's manifesting. And at that point, it really begins to shift the mindsets. I mean, as fundamental as these aspects are, we need to further embrace them and make them part of our habits and what have you.
Yes. Just a quick example from my
Yeah.
personal life. So by mid-20s, I was fluent in 5 languages. And 2 of them are my native languages, Russian and Ukrainian, but I was learning French, Spanish, and English. And I was struggling. I became fluent, but it took so much effort from me. I was really, really struggling. I used to think that I had a poor memory, and that was the problem. Now I know that I was sleeping 2, 3, 4 hours a night. And this is when the most important work happens, when we give our brain rest, proper rest, either deep rest or sleep. So if I actually was getting more sleep, if I was getting proper rest, then it wouldn't have been so difficult for me to learn those languages. It would have happened so much faster, and I would be even better than I was. So that just like one of the examples from my past, that I was really doing myself a disservice by trying to work more hours and to measuring my success by busyness, and thinking that, yes, it was all about how many hours I can log in.
Yeah. And Mariya, as you reflect on, especially given that this is our kind of capstone, if you will, conversation, we've talked about resilience, we've talked about thriving, we've talked about resolutions, we talked about the heart of success and anxiety. This, if you will, conversation is really fundamental to all the other conversations that we've had in so many ways. And
Yes.
I mean, as you reflect on that, what kind of guidance, if people were to take away one thing today, change one habit, do one thing differently, any thoughts or recommendations from your vantage point, Mariya?
So when it comes to focus and energy that we're discussing today, and I do think that the most important thing is to stop grinding and to become disciplined with both work and rest. Because when it comes to discipline, we think it's just about working. No, we have to be very, very, very disciplined with our rest as well. And when it comes to energy, the most important thing that I would suggest is get proper sleep. And it's something that I'm writing in my book and something that we already discussed. So one of the things, catching the morning sunlight is a really great thing, is a really great practice and technique in order to improve our sleep that night. And when it comes to focus, I would say stop multitasking. Multitasking is another misconception. It's impossible to multitask. What our brain does, it quickly switches from one thing to the other. And to us, it seems like we're multitasking, but actually it's not what's happening. Our brain keeps switching back and forth, back and forth. And what we're doing, we waste a lot of mental energy as well. So not only we decrease our skill of focus, and focus is a skill. So not only we decrease our skill of focus, we also drain energy from ourselves as well, because we're trying to juggle a few things at the same time. So it's always better to break tasks into groups. For example, this half an hour, I'm making phone calls, and that hour, I'm writing emails, and then half an hour, I'm going to do cooking, and then for that hour, I'm going to watch a movie instead of trying to do everything at once. Because yes, that's what I was doing on my weekends when I was younger. I would have TV on and I would be cooking, and at the same time, I would be making a phone call, or I would be writing an email or things like that on my phone. So yes, and I was very proud of it. I was so proud. I was bragging how good I was at multitasking. How amazing I am at that. But this is just one of the biggest misconceptions as well. So
Yeah.
I would say get proper sleep and stop multitasking, and you'll become so much more focused and so much more energized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. And I love the way you're saying it, because even though the world may seem uncertain and chaotic, it doesn't mean we have to be uncertain and chaotic. We can apply discipline. And very, very specifically, when we begin to apply that discipline, we do see a difference. So as they say, someone else's someone else's emergency doesn't have to become my emergency. I can be disciplined in how I engage it and channel my energy appropriately. So I sincerely appreciate, especially the emphasis on discipline all around, both rest and work. So together.
Hey, and speaking of emergency, by the way, I always say push your emergencies till after lunch. Because once again, what we do in the morning is that we usually spend morning putting out fires.
Yep. Yep.
But morning should be about our long-term goals, and to focus on that, and address so-called urgent problems after lunch, where we're not as focused and where our energy levels start going down. So morning hours are the most important, and this is when we need to be doing things not like grocery shopping or cooking or I don't know, just scrolling social media, but actually things that work for us in the long run. So we have to be very careful with our mornings. And by the way, a pleasure to spend a morning with you because
Likewise.
it's between 8 and 9 a.m. For me at the moment. Yes, so we have to be very precious about our mornings and do most important things that will play a role in the long run for our health, for our happiness, for our success in the morning hours, and then and do the rest of the stuff in the afternoon.
Excellent, excellent. And Mariya, I know we've got about just around 10 minutes. I want to zoom out a little bit, if that's okay, relative to this topic, because I know we've been on a journey, right? We've, like I said, we've started with resilience and thriving. We talked about resolutions, the heart of success, anxiety, and here we are talking about time management and again, management in double quotes, as we're saying. I know you're working on a number of books, and can you share a little bit more about kind of the work that you're manifesting, the books, how people can reach out to you, get a hold of you, tap into what you can offer, if you will.
Thank you for asking. Thank you. I'm really excited about it. I'm writing on 9 topics that I wish I was taught when I was younger. That if I could go back in time, I would teach myself. So these are 9 topics, but I decided that instead of waiting for a whole book to be ready, I will release it as 3 parts. So these are going to be 3 ebooks, and I will release them within this year. The first book will come out in April. So in particular, in the first book, I talk about how to get proper sleep. So I give every tip that I've come across and tried and know is working. So I don't want to distract my readers with things that don't work, and I'm trying to be as concise as possible, as direct as possible. This is the question, this is the answer in the format like that. So as little fluff as possible, or not no fluff at all. You know me. So I'm doing my best to give straight answers and to have my chapters structured in an easier to read conversational manner. So yes, in my first book, the first chapter is about how to get proper sleep, because I do believe, and I do know from my experience that if we want to improve our life, if we get proper sleep, it will do wonders for everything in our life. Happiness, health, relationships, fulfillment, everything. If we give our brain proper rest, then it will work at its best for us as well. So one of the chapters is on sleep. The second chapter is on auditing relationships. So being mindful about who we spend our time with, who we spend our energy with, who is around us, because our environment shapes us. So that's the second chapter. And the third chapter is on skill of confidence, because confidence is a skill. So I'm talking about what it is and how to improve it. And once again, everything is so simple, to be honest. to make a huge shift in our life, it just takes small things, but being consistent with those small things, with those small efforts. Another thing I didn't understand earlier, but I do thankfully now, that when we have certain results in our life, they happen through accumulation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for us to make changes, they also are going to happen through accumulation as well. So everything comes down to whether it's becoming more focused, whether it's becoming more confident, whether it's improving our emotional intelligence, whether it's increasing our energy levels. It's all about small things that we're doing consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
in so many ways, we've been conditioned to look for the more complex things when the reality is you do these simpler, respectfully smaller, not necessarily easy, but rather it takes discipline to do these, if you will, micro shifts that can really have a macro impact in many ways. Mariya, as you look at the three books that you're working on, is it and I'm trying to get the best way to ask it, could we look at those as a bit of a foundation, quite honestly, for, if you will, being a thriving human, a more thriving human?
This is what I'm striving for, to create that foundation, because there is just so much information out there, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But there's just so much of it. And, really great TEDx talks and interviews and books and articles and, so much. And when we watch a TEDx talk and when we watch an interview, it makes sense when we watching it or when we're reading something. But then we struggle to decide, okay, where does it fit in the whole picture, in that puzzle, how to thrive as a human being. And what happens, unfortunately, if information doesn't fit in perfectly with what we already know, we lose it. We forget about it. So I believe that if we have that foundation built first with the main basics, with the main principles, with the main fundamentals, then afterwards, when we have an understanding what fits, no, what fits where,
Yep. Yep. All good. Yeah.
what fits where, then we can use everything that we accumulate afterwards. A talk, a podcast, an article, it will click into, on top of that foundation, and we'll be able to build our building of a human being, speaking metaphorically,
Yeah.
who's happy and healthy and fulfilled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes,
And
this is what I'm trying to create, that foundation that I also believe should be taught to us from early ages, as early as possible, so we would know, because in particular, like you said, life is so stressful and so unpredictable, and it's getting worse in that sense.
yeah.
So the only thing we can rely on ourselves now is just us. It's no longer, outer circumstances
Yeah.
or other people, or I mean, what I'm trying to say is that we need to be able to rely less on outer things and to be able to rely more on what's happening inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
when we have this foundation, then we are more, um, we're going to be healthier and happier and more fulfilled as well.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter what happens, like
Yeah.
whatever circumstances come, it just doesn't matter, because it's all about who we are and how adaptable we are. So how
Yep.
resilient and how adaptable we are.
Yeah. And to your point, Maria, I mean, not only is there a lot of information out there, there's some good information, but there's also a lot of noise. To sift through the noise is very crucial. And this is one thing that, as you and I met, if you will, some time ago, that really attracted me to the way you critically think about that information, because and the directness of a question answer and organizing your thoughts. It's very different than saying everything is valuable, because there is a lot of noise out there. And I'll say, for a person who's going to buy the books, going to read the books, and going to share the books, if you will, very openly, thank you for sifting through all that to help guide the reader. Very much so.
It's my pleasure. And you're so right. There's just so much misinformation. And it's unfortunate. I see certain things being repeated by
Yeah,
specialists. Just because one person said something, suddenly 10 people repeat it without actually double checking it. And this type of misinformation spreads.
yeah,
And yes, it's quite unfortunate. I really wish that more people were more critical when they read something, because I always not just double or triple check, I probably check everything like 10 times. And
yeah,
also experiment on myself as well. So I offer insights only that I know that are working. that
Yeah.
either they worked for me or they worked for many, many other people. So this is what I'm trying to share. Instead of overwhelming my audience with information, I am giving insights that I believe are true after like triple checking at least, and
Yeah.
after experimenting on myself and seeing for myself whether it's actually working or not.
And I think that is an extremely distinctive factor. And I very openly am in the same thought process. I don't like to echo what, and I see a lot of echoing of good information and bad information. It's just echoing. And rather than just echoing it, but really apply it. And when you say it, it comes from a place of practice and proven very specifically to your experience and how you can share that wisdom. So truly applaud everything you're doing, my friend. And I know, we're at the end of our series and we're coming up on time. Any parting thoughts from your vantage point relative to the series, to the forthcoming ebooks, anything at all you'd like to share in closing out all around?
Just wanted to say it's been such a great pleasure to spend time with you and to have conversations. We we usually go for hours when we actually chat off camera.
Yeah. Yes.
we, we usually go for much, much, much longer. It's always a great pleasure to chat to you. I admire you so much as a person, as an expert, as everything else. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Todd, the magician behind the curtain,
Yes. Yes.
who also made this possible. I'm really grateful to you, Sai, and to Todd. And it's been a really great journey with you. And I look forward to our collaboration further.
Thank you so much. And I definitively, Todd is a magician. I like him more in front of the curtain, and he doesn't always join us in front of the curtain, but he truly is a magician by all means. And likewise, thank you, Mariya, for making the time, sharing your wisdom, and truly having the impact in the world that I'll say this is the tip of the iceberg of what's forthcoming relative to your future and impact. So thank you all around. We thank everyone who's joined us, and we look forward to the next leg in our journey with Mariya and with others. And thank you again, Mariya, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. We'll sign off at this point, and folks, feel free to subscribe. Reach out to Mariya, reach out to myself, reach out to Todd. By all means, subscribe, and you'll definitely be informed as we have future legs with Mariya and with others. So thank you all around.